ESD board. This isn't the 23rd, or August 26th, it's September 2nd. Work session, 2015-16 goals. Goal setting.
Got a few proposed goals for the year. I'm all ears as far as ideas the board has for what you'd like to see me to emphasize this year. The first goal, I'm gonna be honest, hopefully you didn't hire me because you thought I was creative, because this goal is the same #1 goal that I've had the previous 2 years. Basically, it's to, do as much as I can to try to facilitate communication between ESD and the 5 school districts. It boils down to administration meetings, but probably more importantly, board meetings. And I will be the first one to say, probably one of the main reasons I left this on this year is because my first year I was pretty good at getting to component board meetings. Last year I was lousy, so I need to step it back up. I went to virtually all the ADL meetings. I think I might have missed, what, Jim, 2, 3 maybe at the most. I missed probably about that many plush meetings as well. And then I can tell you between North Lake, Paisley, and District 7, it was a disastrous year. I think I made 1 or 2 of each, and that was it. And so this year I've already started to turn to attend meetings. I need to get there early when I know I can get there and not wait until November and December when I've got conflicts and can't go.
You're still having monthly?
Yes.
How are those going?
Oh, they're wonderful. I mean, Dave Kerr and Bill Wirtz and of course now Will Cahill has replaced Sean Gallagher, but and Chandra and Mary from Warner Valley. I mean, it's a great group, and I think those meetings are going fine.
To me, those are the most important. And I can't speak for the whole board, but when you're trying to make every board meeting, or a majority of the board meeting, it just wears you out. And I know you're on a certain day contract. As far as I'm concerned, speaking just for myself, you can take a Friday or a Monday off in lieu of those. I don't know.
Oh, I do.
Good.
I do. Don't.
Without it being, having to be a contract.
Sure.
You can kill a guy on salary, that's on salary, you can kill him. And I would certainly be willing to cut some slack, because I know what it's like to have to go to 2 board meetings a night, in a week, night board meetings.
Again, I just, last year I just got kind of behind the 8 ball, and by the time we got into the middle of the school year, I just had conflicts, and I was out of town, and some of that out of town stuff won't be as bad this year. It's not a legislative session. I don't think there's quite as much going on. I'm pretty good about saying no to a lot of the out of town stuff, because I viewed, when I took this position, that was one of my real personal goals, was to get out there and get to board meetings. Like I say, year 1, pretty good. Last year, give me a D-. So.
The years that there's legislative issues, especially with the ESD board, the ESD issues, you can't get to both, all the time.
My guess is the superintendents know, like when you're going to the legislature and so on, and that's important. Teachers won't, the other staff are not going to know. And, if you're evaluated by them, they're just gonna think, well, we didn't see them all that much. Doesn't mean you weren't working, but they may not see you that much.
I would think all the board members know the legislative thing, and personally, I'd rather have you there than sitting there at their meeting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. 'Cause
Oh,
you can do,
listen, the round of board meetings I'm going to now are basically to present the MOUs for our local service plan to the boards. I generally just don't just go, it's generally around the local service plan, the MOUs, you know, the pertinent ESD issues. I don't just go to hang out. It's too far to North
I
Lake to do
think
that.
2 or 3 a year or whatever, unless,
And
you know, and I think the superintendents will say, hey, you know, Bob, maybe you need to be there.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one thing.
Yeah.
and that is very true, Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, that's my my goal is to try to hit Pleasant and Dale every month, and then hit at least one of the other 3 in a rotation, so hit them every 3rd month. That's,
Yeah, I think that's adequate.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
appreciate the input though. Any questions on number 1 there? Like I say, other than a few tweaks, and there's very little change in the last 2 years. Goal 2, this is something that's, this is gonna be a major focus point in the next year. I want to provide leadership and support for professional development and school improvement initiatives for the schools of Lake County. Certainly, I've been trying to do that, but I want to try to really sharpen the focus. I want to do that, as you can see there, under action steps, identify professional development needs through the ESD stakeholder survey, superintendent meetings, board meetings, and communication with staff. And if you'll look down at the next one, which I put in bold, because that's the meat of this thing, I am committing tonight to redesigning the yearly ESD stakeholder survey to make it more effective, so we can measure district needs and ESD strengths and weaknesses. As you guys know, we beat our head against the wall. We have to beg and plead to get people to respond to it, and really, does it really provide us with the data that we need to make good decisions? I don't really think so. And so I want to sit down first at our superintendent meetings, talk about it, see what their ideas are about it, because we've really not had that discussion, and it's high time we do that. And then I want to bring their input back to this board and talk about how we can make that survey a much more meaningful exercise for us, and use it to really try to focus our energy and resources on what the districts need.
Good plan.
How are you gonna do that? Do you have any other models, any other ESDs?
I'm gonna call around, exactly, I'm gonna get other surveys. There's gotta be, something like this, that there's gotta be other ESDs that do something pretty similar to what we do. The other thing I think that's important is, and I'm not 100% sure I know how to do this, but we need to craft the survey so we're getting valid data. Oftentimes, and I looked through them late last spring when we got them back, and I don't think I made this comment here at the board meeting, but we'll get people, well, for example, the ESD doesn't supply special education services, at least general special education services, like at North Lake, or we don't supply a particular service at another district. Yet we will get responses from those districts on that service that we don't provide. And so I'm gonna try to come up with a way to maybe educate people a little better about what the ESD does do, and then hopefully we get more valid responses, or craft the survey so we get more valid responses.
In other words, in your survey, asking for what kind of staff development is needed, they are putting down what service they want us to provide.
No, they're just rating our services, and that's the other thing that I think is just really important, that we've got to start doing a better job of getting them to identify things that we should do. We do ask a general question, but it's not, we don't get much of a response to it.
So you're saying this survey, these questions may not be applicable to North Lake, would you basically?
We literally may have to come up with different surveys for different districts.
Yeah, it's gonna be very cumbersome.
Using SurveyMonkey, I don't think Debbie will have too much trouble.
Debbie's making faces over here.
It actually wouldn't be too difficult.
You don't think so? Will we be able to get, I guess we would get validated that way. Get longer parameters to look at.
Yeah, plus
It might be,
hills.
and that's,
But, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
So.
anyway, that's something that's been gnawing at me the last few months. And I know we've spent a lot of time in the last 2 years talking about surveys here with the board, and I think it's time to try to upgrade that,
Something different, yes.
the program survey,
But
so.
you can't do it, take too long doing it because you wanna get it out.
Oh, exactly, yeah, well, it will have to be ready soon, you know, yeah, it's not something we're gonna sit on. My third goal is I would really like to start having a conversation here at the board level about staffing, budget, personnel. We have some things coming up. Well, the first thing we have is we ended up filling our speech in the north end of the county and our special ed in the south end of the county, but our speech person in the north end is a contract employee who is actually only contracted through the end of the first semester, end of January. We're hoping that, she's a great lady, Stephanie Johnson, just had her in for in-service this week. We're hoping that we can entice her to stay for the entire year, but you know, moving forward, whether we can get Stephanie to stay or hire some, we have got to fill this gap permanently, or you know, as permanently as we can. And a semester at a time just doesn't do that. So, special ed, you'll have a hire before you tonight. We're recommending to hire Donna Campbell, who is a longtime aide at Union School. She's had a teaching license for 10 years. She taught for 1.5 years in Alaska, then came to Lakeview and has been a classroom aide ever since. She has an elementary license. Because it's a late hire, because she doesn't have the special ed endorsement, what we're recommending this evening will be a temporary hire. Now, Donna is committed. She wants to go back to school. She wants to get that special ed endorsement. She may be the long-term solution. But as I sit here, what I'm saying to the board is, I want to seek to make sure that we get, you know, fairly long-term solutions in these kinds of positions, and not have a revolving door.
Are we gonna be helping her with that monetarily?
Yes, we're gonna do exactly what we did for Megan and others. We'll be paying tuition. She has got a very steep learning curve. She probably will not go back to school until after the first of the year. The good news is that if she chooses to go to Southern Oregon, where Megan went, Megan had to go to Southern Oregon. She had to be on campus 1 weekend a month.
Oh, wow.
I just spoke with the special ed director over there. They have now come up with an entirely online program. If Donna so chooses, she can do the entire program here. So, you know, again, it's just a matter of if we don't get commitments for these people moving forward, I want to get started right away. I'm looking to fill these positions.
How far away is she from a special ed endorsement?
It'll require about the same time as Megan, probably about a year. You know, where she has the degree, she has the elementary license,
Right.
She's really in the same boat that Megan was. Right now, the only reason I hesitate a little on that is because right now, Donna will only be teaching 7th grade and higher, so she can get a secondary license, where Megan had to get both an elementary, not a license, I'm sorry, an endorsement, an elementary and a secondary, because Megan teaches a wide gamut from, Donna right now is not doing that, but my guess is it would really behoove her to get that K through 12 endorsement, because you just don't know what the future holds. So,
Do we, I can't refresh my memory with Megan, did we require her to sign a contract saying it'll be 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years beyond, or 3 years with this year counting?
yeah, once she finishes, yes.
Then it's 3 years.
Yeah. Then the second part of this, as I mentioned earlier, is to evaluate our current structure of ESD positions. And this really is coming about because Marcia Nichols, who's been our school improvement, actually we now call it curriculum and instruction director, but anyway, I put school improvement down here, I think. Marcia's told us that this is her last year. Now, Marcia, you know, came on board 4 or 5 years ago. Previously, the position had been full-time. At that point, and I don't know what the discussion was between, well, I probably know a little bit about what the discussion was between Marcia and Alice, but Marcia came on half-time, and then the superintendent position picked up .2 of the school improvement. I'm wondering, and I think this is something that we need to start the discussion on moving forward. Are we interested in increasing the FTE on that position? In other words, taking my .2, applying it to that position to make it perhaps a little more attractive when we go out to hire it.
Are you still .2?
Well, oh boy, Sarah may have to help me here. I'm divided, I'm .8 at the ESD, I'm .8, and I believe it's .3 as superintendent, .2 curriculum, .2 special ed director, and .1 district administration. How did I do?
District administration and grant writing, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's 1.0?
No, for me, that's .8.
Yeah,
That's point.
Well, your second goal had to do a lot with professional development in the school improvement.
Exactly.
And if you're really gonna put a focus on that, probably wouldn't hurt to have a full-time person doing that.
Yeah. Oh, there's times when it is the vast majority of the job. There's no,
Yeah.
and that's because in the world we live in today in education, it's really all about professional development, and that's what we're, Marcia and I we're mentoring teachers, we're doing continuing professional development for sub-licenses, we're, on and on, all that sort of stuff. Writing grants. So anyway, I just think this year is a good year for us to have ongoing discussions about would we like to keep that structure. Similarly, at some point a few years ago, the decision was made for the superintendent to assume the special ed director piece. Moving forward, is that the way we want to keep it? Do we want to look at maybe having another staff member pick that up? I am not lobbying to say I want to give up my school improvement piece or my special ed director piece. At this point, I'm entirely flexible. I want to do what's best for the ESD. And again, the school improvement piece is pretty obvious that I think if we go out to hire that position, I think we have a better chance of filling the position
If it's full-time.
with full-time or nearly full-time FTE, exactly. So that's.
How much more would this cost us if we went with a full-time special ed and then Marcia's job being full-time, any idea?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Well,
Sorry.
as we move forward with that discussion, I think Sarah and I will bring the figures to you. First of all, if you take Marcia's half and my .2, so there's .7, so you're, it might be, whatever a .3 FTE equivalent would be.
Right, and there are a lot of factors, because you and Marcia don't have PERS, and,
That's true.
you're at the top end of the
That's
scale,
true.
though, there's a lot of variables.
But with you at a .8 and everything that's come down the last 2 years, it's added onto your plate through the early learning and school, school readiness. You've got more than enough I think it's time to look at splitting out some of those.
I think it's healthy to at least have the discussion. And I know that when it comes to special ed, for example, North Lake and Paisley in the last year or so have had significant special ed questions. And to be honest, not a lot I could do, because you really, there's some things you can do on the telephone or from a distance. You can give some advice, particularly on legal issues, ODE things. But really, usually on special ed, it boils down to placement issues. What class is the student going to take? What's their IEP going to look like? And those are things that are really germane to the school and require, I believe, somebody to have familiarity with the school, with their schedule, with their staff, with their, you know,
So you're at what, .2 now for your special ed?
I think so, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so you're talking going from .2 to .5 part-time or a full-time special ed?
Oh, no, I
Okay, because
really,
I can,
the-
we were talking about Marcia and then you said
yeah,
special
on the
ed, so-
special ed, you know, there were some, I'll be honest, there were some discussions a year ago among the superintendents as we talked about the future local service plan. There was discussions by at least one superintendent from a component district about the possibility of that district paying part, the ESD paying part, and having a full-time special ed.
I was
director
gonna ask
countywide.
if we are looking at full-time, would the schools kick in on some of
Well,
that percentage?
At that time, at least one of the districts was interested in doing so. The two other large districts were not. But then ironically, as I say, throughout the year, Paisley and North Lake started to have more questions and things about it. And so we will certainly
Okay.
revisit that in the county administration meetings.
Okay.
That would be a tough deal though, because again, I've tried to wrap my mind around that in terms of, you know, would somebody go to Paisley a day a week, and Lakeview 2 days, and North Lake 2, you know, try to hit most of the IEP meetings. I mean, that would be a lot of travel. You'd be stretched pretty doggone thin.
Yeah, but it would be primarily hitting, what, for 2 months? What is it, December 5 or something is the cutoff date on the number of special ed kids?
December 1.
December
For
1.
for the count.
Yeah,
chunk.
then, you know, then it straightens out a bit, doesn't it? The number of, not really?
Not really,
No.
not really.
Yeah, but you can't make them all,
No, oh no.
you know.
No, no, and I wouldn't, like I say, this would, I think, you know, Vicki hit it on the head. The only way you're gonna see that type of position really increased would be if you have a groundswell of support from the other districts who say, yeah, let's try to pool our resources and go out and hire a full-time special ed person. And I'll be honest, at the time, you know, with our funding being up in the air, and with my personal belief that the ESD needs to provide direct services to students, I really wasn't all that fired up about, because I didn't think that the ESD would be able to support even a half-time position on it at that point. With the increase in funding, and again, I think with some of the districts being hit with more special ed questions, we'll definitely revisit that issue.
Are you gonna apply in Marcia's position as soon as we figure out what that's gonna look like quickly? Because it's gonna take a while to get somebody.
I'd certainly want to be flying it shortly after the first of the year, yeah.
You guys have any ideas of anybody to replace her?
There's a couple of names floating around out there. I'll be honest, a lot of ESDs, for example, up at Harney ESD, it's a full-time position. They actually have a person in that position that's a certified administrator. Not the superintendent, by the way, but it's a full-time position, former elementary administrator. The skill set, you know, it's one of those, you can't certainly require them to be an administrator, but it certainly makes life a lot easier if you have that administrative background and understanding. But yeah, Dale, we have to get that, we have to make a decision and we have to get moving on getting that position filled. I mean, going back to our first part of the conversation about the special ed and the speech piece, there's a huge shortage. The full-day kindergarten, I believe, took about 400, created about 400 new jobs across the state. Last time I talked to people, you know, Medford had 13 special ed jobs they couldn't fill. Douglas County had 3 speech positions they couldn't fill.
So we have to make it very, very enticing. Very enticing.
Trust me, you know, we may be coming to you guys at some point with some sort of a incentive plan or something. We may have to make some adjustments in order to attract the right people.
Get them stock in the building.
Get one of those rare types that really love Easter and Oregon, you know, there are some out there.
There are.
There are.
Then I put 4 other things down there, one of which will probably shock you, but number 1, continue to represent Lake ESD with agencies, organizations, whether it be the county commissioners or what have you. Keep Lake ESD board positions filled, based on Mr. Pardee's resignation. That's very, very important. As you know, we've been talking the last year or so about the roof. We haven't actually gotten going on that yet, but I think we need in the next few months to get some bids out on that. And then, you're gonna probably think I'm nuts, but that brand new Chevy Equinox that we got middle of January last year now has almost 15,000 miles. The Subaru is at about 160, right in ballpark, maybe a little
Well,
bit
we
less.
talked about after we finally get that one, when it ever showed up here, we'd have to start saving for another one, but, yeah, you guys go all the way
And
How
up
much
and
longer
down.
are they good for?
Mine's gonna, yeah, head gasket's the next thing that I've got.
And that's what happened to our old one,
Yeah.
and that's my concern
Is
about,
that right?
that's my concern about our old Subaru here, is that, and anyway, Sarah's doing a great job. It appears that we are gonna have the resources to get another vehicle, probably in a year, maybe a little less.
Have we looked at replacing the head gasket on that thing? Probably
You know,
gets a lot more.
might not hurt.
No, I don't think it would hurt.
Yeah.
You should do it now
Oh,
before
yeah,
Before, yeah,
it blows a hole through it.
yeah.
as long as we don't let Sarah drive it.
Sarah, bring your torque wrench to work tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm on
I
it.
think it runs about $800,
yeah, it'd be worth it. Mhm.
because I think that's what usually kills them.
Yeah,
And isn't it at around 160, 180?
yeah,
No, serious, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Because
we
we have to
should,
do ours.
we
'cause
should
it's
get
really-
it, yeah, should get it.
Because once it goes,
It
it's,
Yeah, then
wouldn't
you gotta
hurt.
replace the head if you,
yeah, and then, you know.
Yeah,
it's-
crazy.
yeah.
Mhm.
Most of the time, you're gonna warp your head,
Warp your
then
head.
you're into it for the big bucks.
Yeah.
Anything else,
I think you got a full plate there.
Yeah, I was
That's
gonna
good.
say, I think you've got a,
That was good.
yeah, good plans.
well, thank you, we'll, I'll clean this up a little bit, we'll bring it back next month for approval.
Simple but hard.
Board policies, first reading.
Yes, we have a few policy updates. Thankfully, they're fairly straightforward. In your packet, you've got, the first one, there is non-discrimination, code AC. This is an update to a current policy. It's a required update. Basically what it does is it clarifies, the roles of the party, what the ESD does, what other organizations do, and it also clarifies, family definitions and definitions of other parties. And also is the AR with that, the ACAR, and the changes there are exactly the same, just verbiage, clarification, slightly sharper definitions of processes and groups. Questions on?
Non-discrimination, right? Perceived disability. In our first paragraph, all the things, and because of perceived or actual race, blah, 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 blah.
Perceived.
Perceived, yeah.
I didn't catch that. Perceived disability.
I know there's been talk about if someone is treated differently because of size or whatever, or if it just, it's always been that way in the workplace, and then you really start structuring or trying to change, they are granted, you know, they can file a discrimination suit because you're perceived, she was always perceived as having a disability, or and you're treating her differently after she's been in your program for a while. I know that we've talked about it. I don't know if that's what they're saying here is what perceived is, but we've had this conversation in another.
It's obvious,
Place, yeah.
something like that's obviously happened, or it would
Yeah.
not be.
I will be
Which
glad,
is-
I'll be glad to call and check on
Yeah,
that.
would you?
I did not catch.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
But I think Vicky's probably right, that what it means really is that you can't discriminate based on your perception of somebody having
Yeah.
a disability, whether they do or they don't.
Or give them privilege, yeah.
I'll call and check.
Yeah, that would be good.
Anything else on that one? John, you are Mr. Policy, you're on top of this stuff.
You know who is really Mr. Policy? Howard Ottman.
Yeah.
He, I adopted many of his policies out in Adel and tried to follow what he would do. He would take these, which never really fit Adel,
Right.
you know, and change them. And some of them, because they just didn't fit, so I had to kind of pay attention to some of them.
That's good.
This, I'm fine. Do we need a
That's the first
Good
reading.
first reading?
The second one, CBA, is qualifications and duties of the superintendent. You'll note that the number 5 there on the top of the page has been scratched. That's because a few years ago, TSPC changed how they licensed administrators. They used to have a separate superintendent license. Now they just have an initial and a continuing. And you can, I didn't know this until, I have a continuing, by the way. I didn't know this until last spring. You can actually be a superintendent in Oregon with an initial administrative license now. And they've done away with the superintendent license, and that's what number 5 referred to. So they just scratched it. It's optional, by the way. The next one, DJCA, personal service contracts. Our personal service policy had gotten rather old. This chart puts a much finer point on things, really spells out the do's and don'ts on personal service contracts. Sarah, do you have anything to add to that?
Not particularly. Our old policy was very, it was just very outdated. It didn't really talk about what the ESD would do. It talked more about what the contractor would do or certify. So this one is much more applicable to as an ESD policy.
The next one, GBK, also JF. Going on and on. Changes from tobacco-free, the name now becomes environment, prohibited use, possession, distribution, or sale of tobacco products and inhalant delivery systems. And this basically, it's a required policy, it's an update to our current policy. It's basically just including the new legal language around inhalants, vapors, e-cigarettes, etc.
And they used cannabinoids, marijuana in there also.
Then this is one that I think we updated at every other meeting, the federal family and medical leave, and also the state family medical leave. They changed, I think they just changed this to sell more paper. It's an update to our current policy, it's also required. The main change here, you see there's very few changes, but what it really is clarification on family definitions, and spousal definitions.
They added same gender domestic partner.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll be updating this policy again in a couple of months. Speaking of updating policies regularly, the next one, JHCDA, prescription medication. We updated this one at least twice last year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is a slight change to our current, well, very, very slight change to our current policy. It is also required, and you'll see there that down about the 6th paragraph, it deletes the requirement that somebody giving epinephrine or some other type of prescription medication to a student. They have to be, still have to be trained, but they are no longer required to have a first aid card. That's a change in the law as of this summer. And we currently don't have any ESD personnel that have been trained to do that. That's school personnel, but it's a required ESD policy. And certainly the day could come that we do have an ESD person who is trained to administer something like that. The next one, KL, public complaints. This is a revision of a current policy. It's not required, but it's highly recommended. You can see that they've changed some language there in terms of charges to complaints, being a little more descriptive with some of the processes there.
And I'll also need to sign.
Oh, yeah, clear down at the bottom of the front page, we have to decide whether complaints against the board chair may be made directly to the ESD council or the board vice chair.
Oh, that would seem harsh to have the complaint go to, legal counsel if it's not, depending on what it is.
My attitude on that is that you're always looking to try to settle disputes at the
Right.
lowest possible
Right.
level.
Right,
And to go to the attorney.
yeah. I think board chair, so it's within the board and,
Board vice chair then.
yeah,
Yeah, that's,
Or
if
vice
it's against
chair,
the
if it's
board
against
chair,
it,
then it
yeah.
should be, go to the vice
Vice
chair.
chair.
yeah. At least start there, don't start with lawyers.
Referred to ESD council. I don't even know who our ESD council is.
Who's our legal?
Is that Jim Lynch?
Yeah,
No,
No?
it was for a long time, but it's not Jim Lynch anymore.
We've just designated OSBA the last couple years.
Okay, that's
The
right.
confused look on my face is because I go to board meetings and some of them have a local attorney and some of them have the OSBA, and then I'm confused, I can't remember which
That's
we have.
right.
So,
Well, we really don't want it to go to them then.
no. And then the AR, KLAR, same exact language changes.
Yeah.
usually if there's a complaint against the board or even the superintendent, they tend to go to the State Department of Ed, one way or the other.
Yes.
They find somebody that will take it.
Demolition.
Yeah. And on the AR, on the back of the first page, on page 2, you have the same language choice between complaints against the board chair being made to the either the council or the vice chair. So.
Do we want vice chair on that
I
one
think at this
too?
point,
And that's it.
So now we're going into our regular board meeting. We'll open up our regular regular board meeting with consent items, approval of the agenda, and approve the minutes of the regular meeting from June 17th and the organizational meetings from July 1st. They're in your packet. We didn't do meetings from our organizational meeting, do we?
Excuse me,
We didn't do meetings from the organizational meeting 7-1, did you?
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on the green sheet.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
See,
I didn't reprint them, but they're on there. Sure.
these two, to review the minutes for approval and the agenda. Is there any additions that you guys needed to put on the agenda
Oh,
before we approve it?
yes, there was a late item to approve that hire.
Yes, we have a late item to approve on certified hire.
Under 5?
Yes.
So 5.3, approve certified hire, review and approve.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the 5.3.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye? Okay. It's John or Jim that were at the 2 meetings that we have to approve the minutes on. You're the only 2 that were at both, so.
It looked good to me, so I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve the minutes from the June 17th regular board meeting and the organizational meeting on July 1st. I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Budget committee appointment. Will Cahill, Stephanie Roseberry, oh, she's from District 7, Dave Kerr from District 14, Bill Black from District 18.
Make a motion, we approve them?
Second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, surplus items.
Yes, in your packet, you have a list of some surplus technology items, most of which are not functioning, extremely old. We would like to donate these to the STRET program, which is the students using recycled technology. I don't know how exactly that comes out to STRET, but something like that.
Mhm.
It's a pretty good program.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Board reports. Anyone have, Jim, do you have any updates or?
Yeah, the plush board, Mrs. Laird called and had nothing but good things to say, because I have asked them to let me know what they, each month, if they had any issues, even good, bad, or indifferent. And I happened to be driving at the time, so I didn't write down who she was giving the kudos to, except Debbie, you got some big ones for doing something real fast for her. So, anyway.
Might have been helping score some tests.
I think so,
at the
yeah,
end there
that
for the
sounds
band.
good, yeah.
We
I wish I
took
could have
them.
written it down, because it was, with special eds or something,
Oh, thank
people got a lot of kudos.
you. That's
And
nice.
Adele won't tell me anything.
Dale?
Oh, not much, other than Peggy started school yesterday, and we have about 80 kids, and a number of new teachers, but so far so good, so that's about it. With the And condolences for losing Uncle Bob. Bob is gone.
Yeah. He didn't find us a replacement before he left either. He
No,
wasn't, he was going too fast out of
I
Lake
was
County
called
to
a
find.
scumball for doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, Miss Bobby was really good.
Yeah.
Kids at the north end of town are getting more active in their last hurrah before school starts. That's the only thing that's going on. They are.
Mm. Well, it's pretty quiet. We're just still doing a selection. We've got almost all our kids. We only need 6 more, and I think I've got 23 qualified on the wait list. So numbers of families, low-income families are high. Or special needs.
I was just thinking too, I was just talking to Tuli about some of the possibilities of new businesses and things in Lake County. And if any of that stuff happens, it could have a profound impact on us. You know, so maybe something to think about too.
I was thinking of, I met the new vet and she's from the Netherlands. And she's only been here since the 15th of August, and she's hoping to stay here long-term. I asked her if she was on a residence or how did she choose it. And so, you know, if other, you know, and I know the hospital does that and stuff. So when we're doing outreach to new board members, we gotta think about, you know, different areas outreach of people that might be interested. And, you know, when you said businesses, that's what made me think of it, to really think about our businesses and the people there, and instead
New
of just.
people that come in, new blood and new
Yeah,
ideas. So.
yeah. Financial,
Okay.
are you ready for?
Yeah, so, the big thing this last month was we underwent our financial audit. And we had a pretty clean run of it. I'll pass these around. This is a draft, management letter from our auditors. Draft just means they reserve the right if anything comes up later to add to the letter. I've never had them change the draft, so this might be the year, but, they didn't have a lot to say. Last year they had, one of the things they had recommended was that we do a time study to see where employees actually spend their time, because some of our employees are charged to different funds, based on what programs they work in. Some of our employees wear a lot of different hats, and so they get, they're funded by different pots of money. So the auditors had asked us to do a time study, and we did that. The last month of that time study was April, which leads into a very busy season. I did an analysis on the time study in early August, I believe. And so I was able to give them that time study and show what we had done with it, but we had not implemented it for the last budget year. So one of their comments under payroll was that they asked us to implement changes based on what that time analysis revealed. Minimal changes will happen. I think there were maybe 1 or 2 employees that might need to be allocated a little bit differently. But overall, we're pretty good.
Really close. Good.
Fairly close,
How
close
do you-
enough.
How do you go about doing a time study in some of these?
You know, that's a great question. I don't know how accurate, but what we did is we picked 4 months out of the year, 3 or 4 months out of the year, and we had employees write down how many hours each day
Oh, right, so
that they
that's-
spend out of each area of time. And I took those and I did a percentage of how they did their time, compare it to the percentage of their income that's charged to different places, and did a total based on all 3 months combined. Was it 3 months or 4? I think it was 3 months. We did October, January, and April, I believe. And so you try and spread it out over the year, because at different points in the year,
It's changing, sure.
yeah.
Are they being kind of fussy about if Bob's not doing 3% where he should be doing 2%, and he's doing
Yeah.
4% where he should be doing 5%.
It's
That's
more.
They're
if-
splitting
if-
hairs, Jim.
If it's like, if Bob's doing 20% where he should be doing 12%. You know, it's not 1% differences, but it's the bigger.
But I mean, there's still, I mean, that's part of the whole,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
If we caught flack on this from anybody but Oster, has
Oh,
the
no.
people funding ever said,
No.
It's just,
Mm-mm. No, because the people funding, they want the job to get done, and they know that it takes people, and so we say this is how much time it takes. And as long as the job gets done, they've gotten their money's worth, basically. So we haven't caught any comments from anybody. Oster is fine tuning our operations here, is what it boils down to, helping us be more precise in how
Well,
we.
they couldn't
In
find
other
anything
words-
else.
No, yeah,
they gotta
that's,
say something.
They pretty much told me this
They
a year
do.
ago that
You gotta find something.
they're focusing on pretty minute stuff like this because there are no larger
Yeah.
issues to worry
yeah.
about.
So maybe some embezzling next year, just,
I thought about throwing out just a red flag,
Just
just
a
to
tip.
find this and leave
Why
the
are
rest
you
of it
buying
alone.
board members steak dinners?
I think more like cars.
So Debbie, you have to sign Bob's timesheet?
I
Sarah
do.
does,
Yeah,
okay.
that was the other thing, I had forgotten this, I think they might have maybe not in a letter, but they may have verbally commented that somebody should be signing off on Bob's time card, and, I forgot it, and once it's out of my mind, it's gone. So, they did comment on that, and so far, this year, we're batting 100% for both months, so,
Yay.
so, yeah.
That she knows that he was in the building.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and it's
I mean,
really
you
odd to
don't-
me
yeah.
because I don't know of any other superintendent that fills out a time
Yeah.
card. But, because Bob is good about tracking his time and being accountable, there's a line that has, somebody's supposed to sign it, and so they want somebody to verify, yes, he said he worked these hours, yes, he was in the building, so. And
Pretty
that's,
strange.
those are their comments for the year, so, they noted a couple improvements, but over a prior year as far as, supporting documentation and all that, so.
Good. Was having to really dig, huh?
Yeah, it was a good audit this year, so. we're
Good job.
happy with it.
Good
Yep,
job.
yeah,
Way to go.
I have good help and that goes a long ways, so. And then the other reports, on the yellow sheet, I'd like to note, on the top where it said we spent more on this or more on that, that was the most concise way of wording it. What it should actually say is, last year, we paid for a Rosetta Stone in July, this year we paid for it in August. You know, so it's not that we spent overall more or less, it's just that those expenses are falling in different months. But if I was to say that, it
Sure.
would be a very long
No, that's fine.
comment, so.
Ken, I may have asked you already, but with the new increased funding, what is that gonna mean to us this year or next year? How much more money will that mean in real dollars?
In real dollars, hopefully it's the full 165,000 that they said.
Okay.
What it
How
means,
much?
165,000. What it means in the building and among the different districts, I believe, is a kind of a boost in morale. Our staff, with the PERS increase, they are ecstatic. They are morale is high coming back into the school year. I've noticed this week at in-service. We're able to add some services for our districts, and I think that gives them breathing room, and it just puts a positive start to the whole year for everybody, I think, maybe.
I agree, I think, yeah, adding the speech and special ed has
Mhm.
really boosted the rest.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, just being tight having a budget that's so tight is bad for morale.
It is.
Especially when it goes on for a number of
A
years.
decade, yeah.
You're always looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you
Yeah.
spend, can I spend it, yeah.
Every year, you know the next year's even gonna be tighter, so,
Uh-huh.
whoa.
Yeah.
that's
Right.
helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
You have no questions on the blue one
Oh,
there,
the
Dad?
butter.
All right, got the.
Citron is so doggone good.
Yeah, okay. Superintendent's report.
Pretty short and sweet tonight. The big thing, of course, is we had our professional development on Monday in Paisley with Marcia Moyer. Marcia did a fantastic job. Just to refresh your memories, the administrators from around the county worked with Marcia last year for guidance in terms of implementing the new evaluation system. Marcia turned out to be so dynamic that we decided to have her down here. We used chalkboard dollars to pay for it. We're gonna also have her back on the 23rd of October. She focused on Monday on question and discussion techniques, student engagement, and classroom procedures. And not just illuminated the evaluation rubrics for teachers, but also really equated how certain aspects, doing well in those areas equates to improved student performance, and really ties the thing into a very nice package for the staff. Really a great day. We had 127 people approximately. I haven't actually crunched the final number, but that was our anticipated number, was 127. I know we had at least that much. The Paisley Saloon put on a great lunch for us. Really a good deal. I think most people left there feeling it was time well spent.
You know, Bill had some really great comments. He said some of the teachers are already starting to use some of the things that he thought was very valuable.
127?
Every teacher and a lot of subs and aides.
Impressive.
Good number, yeah.
Already mentioned our two new hires, one of which will be, or both approving. Stephanie Johnson, the new SLP, she is going to be living in one of the teacher duplexes in Paisley. She comes to us from the state of Michigan. Came out here about a week ago. Really excited to be here. We're hoping that we can get her so excited that she decides to stay the whole year. She did her undergrad at Michigan State and her graduate work at Western Michigan. She's hit the ground running. She's already been to Paisley. I don't know if she's actually been to North Lake yet, but she was participating with us on Monday and yesterday. So she's got a lot to learn in terms of the schools and the caseload and whatnot. But I think she's going to be just really a dandy. And then, as I mentioned, we've hired Donna Campbell, longtime classroom aide from Union Grade School here in town to help District 7 with their special education caseload. Again, we're recommending a temporary hire on that, but we're very pleased to have Donna. She's got a lot of familiarity with the kids, a lot of familiarity with some of the special education stuff. It's going to be a learning curve for her, and as I said, she's going to have to go back to school. So anyway, but we're just very pleased. We got down. It's the latest I've ever had to hire anybody ever, and we got down, and it was just not looking real good. We actually I think over the course of the months that we advertised that, we had about 4 applicants. The first 2 that looked really good, unfortunately for us, took jobs elsewhere. And anyway, but we're pleased to get Donna. I knew something would break loose, and it did. Number 3, a little bit of a downer. We were notified last week that we did not get the teacher mentoring grant. First time we have not gotten that. I think probably, we got it the last 2 times we applied, or 3. Teacher mentoring is vital to us. We have right now 15 teachers in the county that are in either their first or second year and qualify for that. We had asked the state for $60,000 to fund. That's basically $4,000 per teacher. I hope my math is right. Anyway, We do have some other dollars we can use if we have to go to more of a mini grant program, but certainly we're hoping, we have appealed the decision to ODE. They're supposed to let me know this week.
Did they say why they?
Oh, yeah, they said as they always do, they say every grant application was strong, we didn't like turning anybody down, we only had enough money to fund 1/3 of the requests. But if I were to draw you a map of the state of Oregon, that's not a very good map, state of Oregon, and here's the Cascades. They funded Portland to the tune of $1 million. They funded the Mid-Willamette Valley to the tune of $2.5 million. They funded a consortium up here, about $600,000, another $1 million or so for Klamath, Jackson, and Josephine counties, and then there was something over on the coast.
And nothing on the,
And other than
side.
Klamath County, nothing on the east side. Our appeal, we basically said, look, one of your 3 priorities in this grant was to serve small and rural school districts.
yeah,
We don't see anywhere in our scores that we receive any credit for that. And then the other part of the grant is really to serve diverse student populations, and we don't think that they did a very good job on that part of the state. And I'm sorry, hard to believe I was a geography major as an undergrad. Anyway, we'll see. We're gonna push them pretty hard on this. I've had a couple conversations with some people at ODE, really letting them know how important it is to us and how disappointed we are that we didn't get it, and we thought, and I'll be the first one to admit, I'm not a great grant writer, certainly getting a competitive situation, and you look at the entities that got it,
yeah.
the majority of the dollars, they have full-time grant writers, and they have staffs, that's all they do. Marcia and Debbie and I and Sarah, we spent a couple of weeks working on it, did, I think, the best we could. You always have hindsight, but, to me, the dang thing ought to be about what it does for our kids.
Right, exactly. Well,
Not-
it doesn't look necessarily, since this whole side of the county was not looked at, that
Yeah.
they followed if it's supposed to be rural or that it didn't matter how you wrote it, so.
We heard through the grapevine that this consortium down here got more than what they asked for.
Oh, really?
And I didn't bring that up in my conversations, but if we get turned down again, I may bring that up and,
Yeah, why not give
but
us
they-
what the extra you gave them that they didn't ask for?
because we're, again, 60,000 out of a total of $10 million that the legislature appropriated for it. They should be able to
Yeah.
fund
Is it
this.
possible because we've got it a couple times before?
They don't, there's nothing in the language or the scoring guide that speaks to that. Now, last time, we actually got credit for that, because they hadn't funded it for a few years. We had kept it going among the ESD and the component districts, so we got extra credit for that. This time, they didn't say that you got extra credit for having a new program or not being funded in the past. It was just silent on that, so. And then, as Vicki knows, we just turned in another grant application for a regional achievement grant. This would be a grant to help support preschool in Lake County, specifically to try to support professional development and also some curriculum needs. It would be a $20,000 grant. We're cautiously optimistic on that one. It would be a grant that would help us fill in some gaps between our existing kindergarten grant, some of the things the Early Learning Hub is doing. Certainly, I think the bigger problem in Lake County is just access to early learning, to preschool. And this doesn't do very much to solve that, but it's a baby step in that direction. Questions?
Information discussion items, board opening, vice chair.
Yeah, you have in your packet, unfortunately, Mr. Pardee's letter of resignation. He's certainly been valuable to me with my 2 rookie years as an ESD superintendent. He will be missed, and also we need to have elected vice chair.
Our chair didn't make it today. So do we have to accept his, we don't have to, do we have to vote on his resignation? I don't think so, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
We do have to vote on a vice chair.
There is a card going around for Bob.
Yeah.
We're gonna send him a gift certificate to the Summer Lake store, so he can have a reason to go visit Dad.
I'm not gonna pick on you, it's not me.
He's only in Bend, he's gotta come through this way.
Every once in a while.
Yeah. Any discussion on vice chair?
Well, I nominate Dale.
I'll second that.
Yeah, you got a motion and second?
Sure.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Yay.
I knew I should've stayed home.
No, you would have for
You
then.
would
You
have
might
done it
have.
anyway.
No, yeah, really.
We should have
At
given the
least
guy who
we
didn't
kind-
make it.
Yeah.
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 Oh, good point, darn, I'm not thinking.
Quick, I'll get this, I'll get the
Okay.
nameplate out of the drawer. I have one already.
So you want me to finish the meeting, or would you like to take over
Oh.
vice chair? Oh, yeah. I
Okay.
think we're still.
4.2, HVAC service contract.
Yeah, we're actually gonna table that for tonight. I'll just give you a very brief overview. As you know, we had, unfortunately had some issues with the firm that installed our new system, which by the way is just working fabulously. And so we've contacted Robinson Heating and Cooling here in Lakeview for a service contract to basically to protect our investment, keep our system running. We know that there's yearly maintenance in terms of cleaning filters and things of that nature. But there was an error in the first bid that we received, so we'd like to table that until next month, please.
Is that our only option?
Locally.
No point.
Yeah.
Who's the only local person to put in a bid on installing a new system?
Let me talk to you later about that.
Okay.
4.3, OSBA Fall Regional Meeting. I guess this is just information,
Yes.
October 6th.
We have, yes, October 6th in Paisley, at the community center. Do we have dinner lined up?
I think so. I'm having a hard time getting a response from Lakeview Walkers. They verbally said they would do it.
Are they in town or?
Yes, there's some new people managing.
Oh, right, okay.
And she said that they would be happy to do it. So
Okay.
I'm just waiting for a menu and final details.
4.4, OSBA Annual Convention. November 12th.
You're all cordially invited to the OSBA convention. It's conveniently located at the Marriott Hotel in downtown Portland. I will be there at the very least for the first day, because that's when we have our one of our annual ESD superintendent meetings. I don't always stay for the entire convention, but certainly if a board member wanted to go up, I would be very agreeable to stay for the convention.
And when do we have to know about this? I mean, get back to you guys.
I think the latest email, I said that reservations open on the 14th, and they go quickly for the Portland downtown area. So-
Yeah, if you want to stay at the Marriott and not have, and I'll tell you, it's a house, when I go to the superintendent meeting, if I'm not staying at the Marriott, you gotta park, you drive down to downtown Portland, you gotta park. So if you're gonna go, you probably ought to let us know right away and we'll get you.
Get those reservations.
Yeah. All right, and 4.5, seems like that's a moot point, so how did that go?
Went very well, we had a nice turnout, had a good time, ate some tri-tip, like was previously mentioned, morale was really good, everybody's jazzed by Marcia Moyer, and we're heading into the new year full steam ahead.
Wow, we shouldn't have elected vice chair down to action items. We did it, jumped in on discussion, we'll just say that we did it.
5.1, elect vice chair.
Well, they jumped in so fast, you know, I didn't want
Yeah,
it
it's
to
like-
lose the momentum.
Yeah.
Like a lynching, I think. 5.2, we will table. 5.3, we approve new hire.
Yes, Donna Campbell, our special ed, and do we need to approve the contract with the speech?
Yeah, probably so.
She did the original contract. Stephanie?
No, for Donna's. Did
Oh,
she ever give
Donna's.
it back to you?
No, no, not the original one. But I'll have that for signature.
So we don't need to approve that, just Donna's.
Just, let's just do Donna tonight,
Donna's,
yes.
yeah.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to hire, what's her last name?
Campbell.
Campbell.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, motion passes, and with that, I will close this meeting.
Well, this is probably a time not to do it, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, how much is it for her education training? What do you think?
For Donna's? Previously, we've budgeted maybe $8,000 to $10,000.
That's what I thought.
For
Okay.
a full year.
Okay, thanks. That's what I thought, but I wanted to clarify, we haven't done one in a while, so
Right, right.
that's,
And
hasn't gone
kudos,
up much then, if it's still, it's,
kudos to the staff on another clean audit, so I'm sure appreciate
Yes.
that. Thanks,
At Southern Oregon State College offers the program. They make it easier